Okay, we are live. Live. Caught me trying to do something. Hey, how are you doing tonight? How you doing tonight? My name is Imara Craig Butts.
Sharon, and it's almost Christmas.
It is almost Christmas. Almost Christmas. We're in a whole different environment, as you can see. You won't see us here much unless there's other things that we need to do. As our engineer asked, "Hey, are you?" Hey, listen, we're in a top secret place, someplace in
more secret than the Batcave.
Batcave. You know, I was thinking we are in the place where remember Black Panthers?
Yes.
So where is that called?
Wakanda.
We're in Wakanda.
Yes.
That's right. We're at Wakanda right now. That's where we're in Wakanda.
Come join us sometime.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Again, you are now being prepared to be razzled and dazzled by us, I guess.
Sure. I will razzle.
And dazzle.
If I razzle, you dazzle.
I will. Taking the journey together. That's what this show is all about. Definitely all about. Sharon, you want to give the folks what our
I don't know what it's not
a vision.
Yes.
Motto.
Or what we stress and live by. We are going our basic belief. That's
yes, there you go.
That's it. We are going to relate. It doesn't matter what our mother says, what our father says, what anyone says. We are going to relate. Even if our best friend says, not that one, we are still going to relate. But at taking the journey together, we believe that you should find your best friend, the person that becomes your best friend. You should take that relationship and cultivate it into one that is a lovership.
Okay.
So you go from friendship to lovership with the same person, and that's the person you marry. And you don't have to decide who you're going to marry and choose this one over that one and be in that dilemma. Oh, we have a good time together and we hang out together and, you know, this is my best friend. But, oh, by the way, I am going to not marry her. I'm marrying somebody else. Nope, you marry that same person and you will have more happiness, more memories, more fun things to do.
Okay, wow. I'm saying, what's a fun
That's
thing?
an inversion, huh?
That is. While they're watching me, I'm trying to mess with the computer screen at the same time while you're talking.
Yes.
Hey, so why don't you tell them something that was a fun time that we actually did before we get right into our topic? What was a fun thing that we had a chance to do during this holiday and we've been spending some time together doing?
Oh my gosh, this is one of those things that for our Christmas present, we got electric scooters.
Oh, okay. I was going to tell them that, but go ahead. Yeah.
And you know, and I have never been on a scooter before in my life. Yet the idea of a scooter was and fun on it was just something that was exciting to me. And so one of the things that we have done is experience trying to figure out those scooters.
Exactly. What fun! Actually,
okay, now you know how to do it.
I rode bikes before.
Yes.
10 speed, 15 speed, 20 speed. I remember I used to do things they call pop a wheelie, which is right on the back wheel with the other wheel up in the air. I could sometimes ride it with no hands and turn corners and stuff.
So
muscle memory of always remember how to ride a bike. Or other things in life, still was there. So it's like getting right back on the bike. So the scooter was fun to get back on. It was you who's never rode a bike where I had to teach you.
I've been on a bike, but it's been so long, and I've never spent any extended time on a bike enough to remember how it.
Well, so we had to show you how to balance, get on that scooter. And so we could both kind of scoot around together, if you may want to say, and did such a good job. Took you 2 days, and now you're doing much better now. I mean, you're going from 1 mile an hour to 2 miles an hour, even though the scooter can actually go up to 18 miles an hour.
I got up to 7 once today.
Okay, you did 7 once today.
I got up to 7, and 7 is good.
Yeah, 7 is for completion, as some people say, and some of the belief systems. So, good. So what are we eventually trying to do?
I have just dispelled a myth, though.
What myth is that?
The myth is you cannot teach an old dog new tricks.
Okay.
I am learning something new.
Okay.
And I'm enjoying it. And it's a lot of fun. And I could have very easily sat back and said, this is a journey you're going to take by yourself. No, but we took this journey together, and it was so much fun, and I am absolutely loving it.
Well, I like the fact that since you're about 85, the fact that you are able to try again and learn something new is so great. And look how young and wholesome this innocent person looks for being 85, and an old dog like me with all this, beard and stuff on me, and I'm just taking advantage of her. That's what
exactly. Younger man.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, but like I tell my students, I'm 9,984 years old, or some ridiculous number like that all the time. So, so you have given me a younger age.
Younger age. Well, let's move into our subject now. Okay, what is our subject going to be about? Sure.
We are still being hot. Yes, and as we are being hot, we are looking at honesty.
Look at this. Someone already said they're taking notes. Donnie Black.
Oh, wow.
I would just want to say that it really was enjoyable that, by the way, our engineer saying for our first show, we had quite a few people on the show. I think the last one we did was a recording, so you really didn't have a chance to interact with us, chime in. But this one is live. We're so glad all the people that actually viewed our show for the first time, that you really enjoyed it. Make sure that you let ATR know how much you enjoyed it. And your friends your friends know it too. And come also kind of like a classroom with your paper and pencil, as Donnie did. And there's some things you could pick up and learn, or you can do as the old pastor said to me before, which is you can put it in a deep freezer, and one day you may have to pull it out and use it. So you can always do that there. And we're the advice that we're giving you as relationship coaches, I wouldn't say so much guru. It's a learning process. It's a journey. And as long as you're alive and you're connecting to the individual, then it's going to be that journey. Ups and downs, turns, and all that good stuff. Yeah. What you want to do is make that relationship time with that individual. You want to make it an adventure. That's what you want to do, make it an adventure. And that's what we try to do, is make it an adventure. Healthy, balanced adventure. And there's no such thing as perfect. So it has nothing to do with that at all.
Right. And that's one of the things that, we have to make sure people understand. And my wife-to-be is at work when your show comes on, so we watch it together on a day off. Oh, thank you.
Wow, that's cool.
I appreciate you, saving it, for her and sharing it with her. Yeah. So that way you all are truly taking that journey.
What I'm excited about is how the role model has changed. Usually when they take the notes on relationship advice and the relationship information, usually it's mostly the women or the female who's taking the information and pass it on to the male. You don't get much.
Hoping for the best.
Exactly. You don't get much of the male in turn taking the lead in. I'm hoping by our presence and my presence too at the same time, being open and not afraid to speak about it from a male's point of view too. And that energy that we are seeing more males, or I'm taking the initiative, breaking the role, if you may want to say, in making that direction.
That you would cast that energy out, because you are in the lead with this. You are the one who has done so much of the research from the very beginning, even before I knew you.
Yes.
So this is something that has been an ongoing passion of yours for years. A couple of decades even.
Yeah, well, I figured if you're going to relate, just make it with your mom and dad, or even what Jesus said. Hey, we might as well find out how we can relate in a balanced and a healthy way. So let's get to our topic. What is our topic that we've been going over? I think we talked about it before. Well, this will be the second time we talk about it. What is our topic? Third time. Okay.
Because we HOT. We talked, and HOT stands for open, honest, and transparent. Honest, open, and transparent.
Yes.
And we have been, we have covered honest, we have covered open. So, okay, class, what does that leave for tonight?
I don't know. What does somebody think what it leaves for tonight?
We're down to the T.
Down to the T. Yes.
Let's all say it together. Transparent.
Don't. Yeah, she's a teacher, so she's gonna do stuff like that, man. I mean, that's how she rolls. She does that with me too. But hey, it is what it is.
It just keeps it kind of light and whatnot. But yes, tonight we're talking about the transparent part of being hot and how important it is for you to be transparent within your relationship.
Exactly. As we kind of look over our notes that we put together, so if I'm looking up or she's looking to the side, one and two, we're looking at our notes. So transparency. What do we think about when we think about transparency? Sometimes some people think about transparency as being very, very light, very, very wide, very, very crystal clear, or like gaseous kind of.
Yeah, being able to see through.
Exactly. And transparency, you would say, is symbolically, what's it?
Symbolic.
Symbolic. It would be that way when you think about that. But we're referring to how we relate to one another, how we relate to one another under the guise of hot. So let's look at some ways of how transparency relating to our partner, which is to reveal your inner self, your true experience. So we are talking about relating to your partner, like relating with you, with my true inner self and my true experiences. Now that's a whole can of worms. Now I only say that because some people have had some experiences. I'll be honest with you, they don't necessarily want to talk about in the relationship. There's that
or can't talk about.
They're
emotionally, they're not at a place where they can talk about it.
Or there's that tradition that is out there, and that tradition is
don't ask, don't tell.
No, that's right about that.
Okay.
But I'm referring to the tradition of courtship, and in courtship you bring on your best self, your best advisor,
the ambassador that you call.
Exactly, ambassador. And because I really want to get this girl, she looked good. Man, I can't wait to get to her at home. Or it could be a guy. I really like this guy. I'm really going to get to him. So what you do is you put on your best ambassador. You say anything that they want to hear. You wear the best that you can. You put on your best personality and yada, 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 whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. Doing that particular time.
She likes a man in a suit, so I'm going to go out and buy me 3 suits. And I want to wear these suits every time we go out.
So my inner self, anything to do with my inner self and my true experience in life, no, that's not the time we bring it up. No, that's not the time we talk about it. This is a time where we play the fairy tale. You know, the knight in white shiny armor. And this guy is coming to save me. It all becomes nothing but imagination in what?
It's a smoke and mirror.
It is. I remember my cousin. Hopefully she's not listening to, by the way, because she was older than me and I ran with her a lot too. And I remember she got married to this guy who was a doctor. She didn't know him that well, but they got married because of looks, his power. He was influential, and for her it was like dating up or marrying up.
Marrying up they call it.
And her name was Rox.
I know her
name. I'll leave it alone because she might.
Her name was Cousin.
Exactly. And they put on a serious marriage. I mean, probably over $7,000 to $6,000 on this marriage. They took a whole bunch of time to put it together. I mean, I went to it. It was like a whole bunch of bridesmaids and bridesmen, all that other good stuff. It was a serious match. You would thought with about as much money as they put into that relationship that there was no way
into the marriage.
The starting of the relationship. If you may want to say the door that was open to the relationship, you would thought that they would not in turn have a problem in that relationship quickly at all because of the time and effort and all the people that came together. Would you think the same thing, Jim?
Yeah, I would, except I've done so many weddings that I know that's not true. But yeah, most people would think that. Yes, because if you're going to go into all that expense and everything and you're going to have this relationship that you're working on, you know each other pretty well. That's the assumption. Yes, yeah. Well, one thing is for sure. I do know that the guys I was with and the ladies was also to the party after the party. They were talking, oh, they look so good. Thank you. They look so good. They were so well together. They seemed to work together, all that. I know this is going to be a long marriage, as you would say, relationship. And you know what? Probably 6 months.
It was less than 6 months. Less than 6
Yeah.
months. It was gone. It was over with.
Yeah.
The marriage was done within 6 months. And I know, having a chance to talk with Roxy, because
there's a name.
Okay. Who at least talked with me in detail many times as she did. I just could feel that she really wasn't connected to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They were like opposites.
Yeah.
And I think they were using that philosophy of, opposites attract. And I could tell how strong.
Opposites also repel.
Exactly.
That's the side that they don't talk about.
Exactly. As strong-willed as she was, and as strong-willed as he was, being a doctor and all this stuff, I didn't see how that was going to work out. I'm like, who am I, from that end? And sure enough, it didn't. And she was just, she told me later on that they'd always bumped heads all the time. So they couldn't see eye to eye, and they fought and all that other stuff. And it just went to the wayside.
And the problem is, a lot of times when people are marrying up, as they say, what they are really doing is marrying for all the wrong reasons, because the up is the only thing that it's important. She's looking at the financial stability, and he's looking at, maybe she looks good, or she will be good at the mixers and things that he has to go to for his business. But all in all, it's for the wrong reason. And eventually, when you do things for the wrong reason, it's going to come to fruition. It's going to all come to light. It's going to become transparent that it's not, a good thing.
Hold on, I'm trying to pull something up. Hopefully I'm not pulling up anything on her. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me do this real quick.
Well, that's why I'm steadily talking. And so, but we do that a lot. We get caught up in the thing of looking for a partner or falling into marriage for the wrong reasons. We don't have anything in common, but we are good at certain times. We have a good sexual connection or
chemistry.
Yeah, good sexual chemistry, or
What's the other word you used to have? Where they used to say when you had a good chemistry connection? What was it called? It was sexually connected, real strong. It wasn't called chemistry. Infatuation.
Infatuation. But infatuation is, it's one of those things that will throw you off too. Because you will. I love the way you look. I love your muscles. I love your this. I love your that. I'm not too fond of your personality, but you sure look good. And where's that? Because if you marry that outside, you're gonna get that personality that you don't care for either.
Yeah, especially if the personality in the inside. Because again, one of the main important aspect of transparency is your inner self.
Yeah.
And your true experience is to be expressed.
Yeah.
So if all that's being shown in a relationship is your outside and not your inner side, again, in your experience, you're not going to know. Later on, when you see that person day after day, week after week, month after month, I don't care how long they play, that inside is going to come out one way or the other. I think about an experience of a young lady I knew in Kansas City, Missouri. And if I remember right, she had a girlfriend, and her girlfriend, every time and every day before she got up, she would always make sure before he woke up, she'd make up her face. I'm serious. She'd make up her face. Come back to bed. He'd wake up. He would see her face made up, dolled up. And she did that purposely. The girlfriend I dated, who was her close girlfriend, said, yeah, I do that purposely. I don't want to ever let him see me, but how I want him to see me. Wow.
That's way too much control and manipulation in the relationship for the relationship to be a success. My thought is, whatever happens if one day you wake up with the flu and you can't get out of bed, he is going to see you at some point in time anyway. But what else that comes down to is your self-esteem and how you love yourself. If you feel like you have to have on, you have to put on a mask and a different persona and masquerade for somebody to love you, you're not loving yourself in the first place.
Yes, exactly. You're not loving yourself.
And so those are some other issues that you have to deal with. And that's one of those things about not being true to your partner, because if you go in like I'm all this and I'm all that, and look at me, but then when you are home alone, you act a completely different way, you look a completely different way. That's not being transparent. That's not being transparent at all.
I think the uncomfortableness comes because if you don't have a belief or philosophy, as we do with taking the journey together, thriving relationship, healthy relationship, and you don't use friendship as your basis, and you don't feel this person is a true friend or can be a true friend, both ways, then you naturally are going to hide a lot of experiences that you had, that you think this person is not going to like about you or like about me.
Yes.
You're not going to open up about your inner feelings, because if you do, this person might think I'm crazy. And so I'm really not trying to connect to you as a friend anyway, because I don't even think that's needed in a relationship or a marriage relationship. So therefore, you could see that that's not going to happen. And traditionally, the relationships have been that way. I call them the surviving relationship. They're not based on friendship. So I don't need to know what you're doing. You don't need what I know what I'm doing, but we're going to somehow work this out.
Right. And that's what we have to do. We have to do more than that. But, we have to also be willing to expose our vulnerabilities and fears. Don't be guarded or defensive or walled off. You got to share that, because if you're getting into a real relationship with somebody, your fears and things are going to come to the surface at some point in time.
I think on the positive side, as we're talking about this to help everybody to move to that level, when you are able to share your inner side in your inner self, then you're still using what I call the communication arena, the communication bridge to the other individual, called sharing.
Yes.
Okay, because sharing, that communication bridge, if it's in a healthy and balanced way, it's both ways. It's not just one way.
Right.
And so in that sharing bridge, since we're talking about using transparency, is in that sharing bridge, then you are going to want to, if they're a friend, because that's what you left as a door open between us, how we relate to one another, true friend, you're going to want to share your life. So your inner self, you're going to want to share. You want to feel comfortable open. And that other person, if they're a true friend, someone that has set the relationship through the power of agreement to be a friend with you in this area, they're going to want to hear from you, and vice versa. Because this is the way both of you are going to get to really know each other. It's a journey anyway.
It is.
Your day is not going to be the same every day.
Yeah.
So you're going to need the opportunity to know how each other feels and thinks as the days go by, especially if you have kids. I mean, you get so involved with your children, kids, you got no time for yourself.
Exactly.
And you go into that period, when you get older, and it's called the empty nest syndrome. Yeah. You got to know each other again, or you got to try, or you say, "Nah, I don't like you. I don't get to know you. We got to go.
Enough is enough."
Exactly.
Thank you for playing. Which sounds real negative, but that's what you're thinking inside. It's been grand, but it's over. And so
thanks for the fish.
Yeah, so long and thanks for all the fish. And see, and that's one of those other things as far as getting to know your partner and everything. We can make little comments like that, so long and thanks for all the fish, because we both saw the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe.
Which, most definitely. That's not his name anymore now, but
which is really kind of, it's kind of an odd movie, but we both enjoy that kind of oddness sometimes, but if we didn't talk about it and we weren't open about it, then we wouldn't know. It's one of those things like, I could have said something like, "Oh, this movie, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, that's a great movie." And, Amar could have said, "Yeah, it is. It's a real great movie," and then slept through it. you know, which would have said to me, he's not feeling this the way I am. But he was not honest enough to say, you know, that's not my kind of movie. However, we talked about these things and we realized that we both like science fiction movies and different things like that. So you have to have these kind of conversations. And that's a part, and that honesty goes along with the transparency.
And that conversation is not only important to do when you're going through the courtship period, but in that courtship period, you want to establish that in such a way that says, this will be a way of our life.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Again, this will be a way of a life. So it won't be one of those things that once we get into this commitment of a relationship or marriage, intimacy, and all that other stuff,
I changed my mind.
Exactly. I wake up in the morning, ooh, who are you? Or this is who I really am. And then like, wow. And we'll have conversations in such a way that I don't remember us talking this way before. Why I'm going to do it? No. You have to set that precedent at the beginning that this is how we're going to conversate. This is how we're going to get to know each other, and then allow that to expand in your journey and turn. Remember, it's all about sharing to get to know each other much better.
And as an example, can I talk about the place we stumbled upon?
What was that?
The monument that we stumbled upon.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. You want to share that? Yes.
Yeah, we like to go to different places, and when we go, and we like to travel. And when we go to different places, we also like to find out about the African American history that you're not going to find in history books and different places like that. The type of history that you're going to have to go out and search for and seek for yourself. Well, when we were in Jacksonville,
I guess it was Jacksonville.
Yeah, we stumbled across a monument that had been placed up for the first African American beach that was put into place for the workers on the on this particular railroad. And the man that ran the railroad did this for his employees and for their families, because beaches were segregated in 1900. And so it's called Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, I think that's what's called Manhattan Beach. Yes.
And so it's one of those historic Manhattan Beach.
We just got it down the phone.
It's in Florida. The first
Jacksonville.
Yes, the first African American beach resort in 1900. Henry Flagler.
Well, you don't have to read the whole thing.
Reserved Manhattan Beach for Black employees and his Florida East Coast Railway and Florida East Coast hotel companies. So all of the Black employees had no place to go where they could relax and things like that. But we wouldn't have known this. The fact that we both know that we love history in this manner was an excitement for both of us and something that we could share. But if one of us had acted like that was not something that we loved or we were even interested in, if we did that at first, and then all of a sudden, now that we're into this, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Then
and these were the visiting of museums, the visiting of history, the talking about history, whether it's her family history or I talk someone about my family history. My family's not too close, so there's not much of a history to talk about from that end. Or the history that we know about African Americans and with cities. It's just our curiosity in history made a commonality between one of us that made our conversation that much more full.
Yes.
Again, a lot that much more full. And fullness is always part of that balance in a relationship, because there is no such thing as perfect. It just doesn't happen.
It gives us more things to build upon.
Exactly. And when you get a chance to travel and go to different places, whether it's up the street, up at the park, or to another city,
or across the country.
Exactly. So you carry yourself as we carry ourselves in a curiosity, and we are able to explore these things together and enjoy that together. But that's been always part of our conversation. Again, bringing in that transparency into the relationship, which is something that you really have to think about. And it's under that strong basis that we are true friends from the standpoint of it's a growing process that we work on, because that's our basis that we want to be and that we feel very strongly we are.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's move on to another one, transparency. I think people have understood that transparent enough, hopefully.
From that aspect, yes. The next little thing that we want to discuss is you allow others to see who you are and what you're really feeling. And that's a hard
Explore, what is it called? Expose your vulnerabilities.
Yes.
And fears, not guarded, not being defensive or walled off. Okay, I'm gonna have to start. Hold on. I'm gonna have to start as a male. Man, I don't know how many boys or brothers or whatever I have talked to my time who would tell me, I don't know how many times, man, my old lady is shut down on me. She ain't saying nothing to me at all. She's not giving me no kind of vibes. She's not giving me, of course, the other stuff. She's not, I'm just, every time I came in, she give me the cold shoulder. She look at me with those, frozen eyes. I don't know what's going on. Someone go, yeah, I know what's going on with half, but still. Again, that's another particular part of that. I don't want to expose my vulnerabilities. Yeah. And for some reason, when that happens, that lack of inner self and sharing is cut off, and it can be a real showstopper in a relationship. Though I've seen that happen for not only days and months, sometimes you've seen it happen for years. Yeah. And some guys that I know have said, man, that's just how she is, man. She's
one of the things with that has to do with the fact that women have been taught that to be vulnerable is to be weak. And that if you are vulnerable and you show your vulnerabilities and you show your weakness, that you're going to be taken advantage of. And it gets so deep into us sometimes that we don't know how to let go of it in a time that we really need to let go of it. And that time we really need to let go of it is when we get into a serious relationship that we expect to be a long-term relationship. And if we're getting into that, then we need to be comfortable enough with that person to show our vulnerabilities, to be able to say, I'm hurting. Whether your partner caused the hurt or not, you need to be able to say, I'm hurting, or I'm not happy, or, something is wrong with me and it's bothering me. Because, and it's okay to say, I don't need you to save me. I just need you to listen to me. Because on the other side, men have a tendency to want to save women.
Yeah, we've been kind of programmed to think that we are the Johnny come lately, we are the Mr. Fixer man. And then there's some men like, nah, I ain't doing none of that. My daddy ain't did it. I ain't seen anybody do it. So nah, you're gonna have to save me. This woman's gonna make me right and make me to be the man, and I'm gonna be just like my mom did.
Or almost did.
Almost did. Any way it goes, the lack of being transparent is at hand. Whether it's between the male or the female, however you were brought up, that lack of transparency is there, and it causes an imbalance in the relationship where both of you are not sharing with one another, and therefore you're not expanding and growing in your relationship, and of course then it's not healthy. And so it's important that you find a way to understand that to be vulnerable is basically to share who you are. It's not a sign of weakness, and that's something that we have to get away from. It's like you can have things. It's okay to cry. I remember I was in a situation at my. You say it's okay for women to cry?
Men too.
Oh. Okay, I knew you were going to go there and say that.
But
I mean, who wrote that book about men crying in
the dark?
Yes. I know you know it.
Yeah,
because you told me you read it.
I didn't read it.
It was a big read. It was a big book. Not a big book, but it was a book.
Gosh, I know he's. Anyway, it'll come to me in a little bit.
But it's because the tradition is the woman will show her emotions and her vulnerability. And one of the outside physical manifestation is they're going to cry. And you and a man will go, I don't know if you're crying if you're happy. I don't know if you're crying because you're upset. I don't know if you're crying because you're mad. I don't know if you're crying just because you're crying. I can't figure this out.
And the thing of it is, you have to realize it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she's crying for herself. It doesn't matter if she's crying because she hurt her partner. It doesn't matter if she's crying because she stumped her toe or because she's watching a movie that reminded her of something that is very that's reminiscent of something that was hurtful to her. It doesn't matter what the reason is. If the tears are there and they need to flow, tears are cleansing. And so she really or he should not have to explain why they're crying.
Well, I still think, to be fair, because men may not understand that because they're not giving whatsoever in this particular culture, especially in America, that tears are something that you as a man should do, or even be about. The idea of being cleansing is like, what? Cleanse? I'll go with my boy and drink all night if I have to.
That's not cleansing. That's just throwing more.
Some of the cleansing, sadly, is I may beat on you, and I feel cleansed of my anger towards you. I mean, that's the extreme side. There's not really much of a balanced approach given to the idea of these tear thing that you're referring to. So I hope everybody out there heard that and wrote that down too. I love, and I agree with you, the idea of cleansing is what tears are about. Now, we'll cry if a boy dies.
Sometimes.
Wow, I know a lot of hard guys who have. We'll cry if our daddy dies. We certainly will many times we'll cry if our mama died or our kids die. You know what I'm saying? So the idea that it's cleansing, I think, is very, very important to understand as part of that same process. But you have to understand that most males are not necessarily identifying with your emotion, and about the emotion that they mostly know is the anger emotion. I'm mad emotion, I'm rageful emotion. That's the emotion that we're pretty much given as the okay light to be able to express.
And the movies will do that too.
Exactly.
The movies support that, and a lot of us get our acceptability, and in other words, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. We get that in from the movies or from the music that we listen to, or just from what somebody else says that happens to be a friend of ours that has no problem sharing his opinion, right or wrong. And you hear it so much that you start thinking, oh, he must know what he's talking about. No, he's just talking. But you're buying into it.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, but the thing of it is, when somebody is crying and you look at them and you go, what you crying for? It brings back that childhood thing when you felt like you were in trouble, or, and you started crying, or you had been, chastised for something, and your feelings were really hurt, and you're crying, and your parents say, well, what you crying for? It devalues that emotion. And when you have to explain it right there in the moment, that also says that the reason is more important than what you're doing.
Well, see, guys, you are getting to hear something that is the first time I'm hearing, especially the word devalue. We got two we learned today. One of it's cleansing, okay? Number two, devaluing that emotion. And again, that gives us a better insight. Thank you for sharing on what is being expressed in the inside, especially of females, because we're not really allowed to explore that. I'll be honest with you, except for those different situations. I think. Hold on for a second. It's going to be a funny moment. I remember watching, y'all are probably younger than me. I remember watching the show called The A-Team.
Oh, God.
And I remember my man I grew up with as an African-American brother, Mr. T.
I pity the fool.
Exactly. I pity the fool. I remember Mr. T cried over, I forgot who was the young man that died. And Mr. T actually cried over it on TV. Okay. And I think it's kind of tears. Through his tears, he said, it's all right if you have to cry. So, and I was like, oh, wow.
Which is a good a good showing, and it's one of those few times that they do show that it's okay.
I remember when Gail Sayers passed away.
Oh my.
that famous a football player.
Yeah.
I remember I cried over that. A lot of people cried
Mhm.
over Gareth Sales. I know when Martin Luther King died,
Everybody.
man, the whole world cried.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know we were at tears over
Mhm.
that from that particular end.
Yeah.
So sharing that emotional part is not like males don't do it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. How we are able to do it, what doors give us a chance to be able to do it. It's been a whole different ball game. And I think if in that relationship, if they're practicing that thriving brightness relationship, and she's a real friend, she's going to allow you to be able to cry.
Yeah.
And to not ask, as you just got there saying, you're a man, what you crying for? You ain't no man.
Yeah.
Or give that energy as if you're not supposed to. And at least, guys, if that does happen, if you can do it within the privacy of your own home, I'm giving you guys some out, and it's with the woman that you love, that's your friend, and you trust in sharing, at least you've got that chance to get that cleansing and get it out with her. Now, sisters, and the same, don't tell nobody. I mean, don't be going to tell everybody else about that now. You keep it to yourself.
But the thing of it is, before you get to that point, when you're in a position where you're just talking about things, and you know, and I have said I'm a very emotional person. Sometimes I don't show it because I have been trained to hide it because of some of those things. What you're crying for, you know, or you know what you got. What's your reason for crying?
And truthfully, I did that because you many times keep that crying part in you, but yet when you look at you give across their appearance that of the vibes that you are very sensitive, that you cry with a drop of a pen. Some people say being too fragile, not sensitive enough. That's a balance thing too. But yet, actually, you do not show that part of you a lot. And when you do, because we're talking about sharing a journey, and when it comes up, I'm like, boom, hell, where did this come from? I don't usually see this from you. But so what's really, really behind it? And you have had to tell me sometimes. I'm just crying because I'm either joyful, or I remember one time you saying because of the fact of this thought process I'm going through, and I had a hard time because of what I just got through saying, understanding it, but because of the fact that it has not been really represented in the cleansing way, or a way that's something that should be respected and upheld because it's all part of being humane. It was a shock to me. And, you know, because of that, I mean, you can't fault me because of that. Because of that, I'm kind of standing almost like, a deer with what got stuck in the headlights. I don't know what to do.
And that's why I was saying, you know, well, I was about to say that when it comes to that point, before it comes to that point, you need to have this conversation, you know. Yeah. Either I'm a crier, or you can say, you'll seldom see me cry and know that when I cry, it's something serious going on, you know, or learn what is required of that other person when they are in that sad or tearful mood. Do they just want you to hug them? Do they just want you to rub on them? Do they want you to talk to them, or just let them know that you're there? You know, I know with women, sometimes all we need is just somebody to just wrap us in their arms. No.
Look at she's been resistant. No. See, she's been resistant. There it is. You see up there, it says one of them is being resistant or being defensive. Yeah, that's a good point right there, because that defensive does happen.
Exactly. It is. Now, just for the record, I'm being defensive. I'm not being defensive. I'm being resistant because I hurt my back yesterday and leaning over that way. No, but I'm feeling it. But that does happen.
It does happen.
It does happen. You know, so not this time, because I love to be wrapped up like that. But
the point out of that also too is that there's also a lot of males, because of the emotional part we talked about, who are not open to that emotional, romantic, or open side that has to do with hugging, and they will be very resistant, especially if they're angered over something at work, they're angered with something to do with the kids, or angered with something that you did. They'll hold that all in
tired of the direction that life is going. You know, and we have to also realize that a lot of people were not, how can I say, were not hugged a lot when they were growing up. I grew up.
There is a cultural conditioning that when it comes to that intimacy of actual physical touch in the area of hugging and what can come out of that, security, a placement of comfort in life. There's some cultures don't add that as a high precedent for them to do. From that end, I grew up and my mom didn't hug me much. She did a lot of things, but she didn't hug me much. And I have to admit, a lot of some of the girlfriends I dated, they didn't hug much at all. Really, I'll be honest with you. And I know that some of the cultural activities I did as a coach or as a activist in the street working with younger folks, I do know and could find the young men who didn't have much hugging in their life. When I hugged them, I could tell in their resistance. They were kind of wondering, what the heck are you doing this for? What's behind this? I didn't get this. Men don't do this, whatever. But you could tell that. But when you do it in a consistent way outside of your actions, showing that you care about them. Man, I remember the last time when we went to the urban school teaching with Mrs. Trotter in Savannah. And we had a lot of kids, I call them baby kids, excuse me, but they did some real tough city urban kids or country urban kids. And you remember, because we've been with them many a time, sharing what we are and who we can be with them. We would always have one or two of them before we leave come up to us and what?
And give us a hug.
Not only give us a, but they're looking for us to hug them. Yeah, exactly. Come on now. Exactly. They're looking forward to get that. In their life, they're not getting that. Hug,
you don't really complete the hug if you don't give it back in return.
Exactly.
A hug is a two-way thing. And like you were saying, you grew up without a whole lot of hugs. I grew up as a lap child. And what I mean,
what's a lap child, by the way?
A lap child is a child that is most comfortable and happy when they're sitting in mama or daddy's lap. And it was nothing for me to go and
no wonder why you try to have me lay my head in your lap all the time. And
that was
yeah. Wow, I was wondering what that was. I didn't get that much. I was kind of like what?
Yeah,
what's that all about?
Yeah, it's those tender moments, and I've talked to you about how that means a lot to me, and because they're tender moments I remember seeing as I was growing up, and that's very important.
Put your head on
my lap.
Oh, lap.
But then
so guys, if you're a lady, your girlfriend or whoever you're with says put your head on her lap to relax, she's going to touch your brow, all that good stuff. Hey, remember, I've been through that too. And it took me a little while to go, okay, it's okay. She's not going to try to slap me or hit me. She's really trying to get me to relax. And a lot of us men, we carry our energy up in here, this part of our body, And then those who are real deep thinkers, as I can be and other people can be, we carry it all up in there. We can be tense, we can be stressed out, we can have headaches. And so it's nice to be able to have that, head in the lap and
just you relax.
That
soft touch.
Exactly.
Yes.
In fact, come to think of the word, that touch can help cleanse you from the stress of the thoughts that are going on in your mind.
Yes.
It can actually help you cleanse you and feel like the burden lifts up. And I remember there have been a couple of times I've actually fell asleep in your lap.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a good thing. So and that comes down to the last part of transparency, which is openly encouraging your partner to express them to you. And that's when you encourage your partner to say, look, I like when you lay in my lap, and it relaxes you, but it also relaxes me, and I feel that closeness. And when you can say that to your partner, and that's where you're really feeling, and where you're really coming from, that will help them to say, okay, maybe this is okay, especially if they're not used to it.
Hey, I would like someone out there, since we're live, give us an example of a time where you needed or experienced a transparency time in your relationship where your mate shared something with you that was vulnerable, or you shared something with them that was vulnerable, and how it really made you feel. Someone out there, I'm going to go to the comments and see if someone could give that to us real quickly, because it's very important in your relationship when you're doing a thriving relationship and you're doing this journey, or you're walking in this journey, because it's an on-the-job training, by the way. You need to have at times where you are able to open up and be vulnerable with one another as true friends, and you're going to find that cleansing gives you that peak, gets you through that valley. Yes. And so that you can move on to the next stage in adventure in your relationship. You can't stay stuck like Chuck in anger. You can't stay stuck like Chuck in anxiety. It ain't going to work if you're trying to look at the relationship or trying to move in the relationship in a long-term journey. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be a lot of stuff you're going to go through as you take the journey together. So we're just trying to give you some techniques that helps you go through those times, helps you go through those portions. Almost the same way if you got a car, you love it. I'm going to use this analogy, and you ain't planning to throw it away. Hey, you're going to have a breakdown in that car. You're going to have some problems with the car. You ain't going to dump it. Well, the ones I'm talking about, you ain't going to dump that car, especially if you love that car, representing your relationship. I'm not talking about representing your wife or your girlfriend. No, I'm saying you're not going to just dump it. You're going to do it, whatever it takes to what? To repair it, to do maintenance on it, to check it out and make sure that it keeps running. So this is the same thing we're talking about. Your relationship is like this vehicle that's taking you to wherever you're going in life, whatever your purpose and your path is, and you want to do those things to be experienced together and do what is necessary for you to go where no man or woman have ever went before. So
especially
anyway,
in your relationship.
Exactly. So if one of you have had that experience, please be somewhat vulnerable. Let us know what it is. Kind of text it up there. We'll kind of share it a little bit with everybody. From there, we got about another 4 or 5 minutes too. It's 5:50, 5:53, 53 minutes. So we got another. We'll go to 60 minutes. So we got another almost 7 minutes for the show.
But we gotta have the outro.
Yeah, we got time. We got 4 minutes. So anyway, if Buddy has that experience, please put it up there. In the meantime, while you're thinking about that in your mind, sharing your deepest desires and points of view about whatever issues you're discussing is important. I mean,
and it's okay to disagree. You don't have to be on the same page about everything, but you need to know where to make that compromise, where to come together. And I don't mean compromises. Okay, but that's more capitulation when you just say, okay, I'll go along with it. No, find that happy medium. If you're not on the same page, because when you give in and you just kind of capitulate, as we've talked about before, and I've learned, thank you, it builds animosity and it builds grudges, and that's not going to help you have a thriving relationship.
There are almost more than one way companies and organizations try to move together on purposes and points. They use partnership. Okay. They use also compromises, and then they use that last one. It's called co-something. I'll remember it in a minute.
I'm gonna let you remember.
Co-something. It's not cooperation too. I forgot what it is. I'll find it in a minute before it's up. Anyway, it has everything to do where you keep your solemn vision of what you're doing within your organization. No. And so does the other organization. But you find a common ground, and with that common ground, you can move forward. Okay?
Yeah.
And so sometimes in your relationship, there is going to be a period where both of you need to find a common ground that in turn may not be all that you both agree upon. But if you find a common ground in that, then you're able to move forward. Like, for instance, many times that common ground situation comes to when it comes to trying to see in-laws. We got one coming up here real soon too, don't we?
That's gonna be great.
During the holiday. Because sometimes in-laws don't necessarily agree with that mate in that relationship. They're not comfortable with it.
Especially in younger couples.
Yes, it was sometimes older too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Kind of dealing with it
but
all.
especially but especially in younger couples or couples that have really varied background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they're coming from two different places, and then you have people who don't want to see either one of them change or one or the other change to make that work. But yeah, that's one of those extensive things.
Yeah. So when that happens, how do we deal with that? Because I know that's holiday. We're coming towards Christmas. We're coming also to New Year's.
And Kwanzaa.
Too. So we're going to have to deal with the uncomfortableness many times of in-laws. How do we do that? How do we find a common point in this situation where maybe the in-law doesn't like that husband of yours or the wife at all? How do you do that? Outside of I ain't coming, you can go. Or there's the other extreme, we ain't going at all.
Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet.
Really? Bite the bullet?
Well, you know, that's
bullets, so you bite them to or they'll explode in your mouth.
Okay. Well, I don't know why they have that saying there.
Neither do I.
Okay. But you know,
that's
sometimes
a capitulation usually
that is a capitulation moment. But if you decide that because sometimes it's on both sides, you know, okay, we will capitulate, and you know, I'll make it through this time for you because we don't have to see them but once a year. We'll pack up the car and we'll drive, you know, 17,000 miles and we'll see them, but then we'll stay a day and we'll pack up the car and we'll drive back. But at least you'll get, you know, I don't know. You have to work that out. That's one of those things that you have to talk about. And as, you know, you deal with issues, you're going to have to do that part of sharing your deepest desires and your point of view about issues, especially the serious issues.
Let's look at this and work this out while we're here. This is like real life common situation. We got time. Real life common situation with ours, because you know your relatives don't particularly care for me. I'm very open and all that other stuff, not necessarily from the same, you know, place of life. You're from I'm from north and you're from down south. So there's a conflict in between that, and we know that. So finding a common point in this could be where you could and would be more open about through the family. I know there's some things about him you're not comfortable with. I know there's some things that you think he's too outgoing, he's too raw, yada, yada, yada. I do too. But because I love him as much as you love me, this is a place where I'm asking you to, in turn, just deal with this in a loving way.
Yeah.
And that helps to be more transparent to them, using transparency in the relationship. It's not just for yourself, but it's also with people that you love and care about. But at the same time, it's getting low down. Then I know what to do when I'm there and maybe hold off on my things too. Hey, it's coming down to the end of the show. We are ending hot right now. The glue of honesty, openness, and transparency. We'll be moving on to another particular topic. So if you got any questions, please go to our email address. I think it's down here someplace. I don't know where it's at right now. Oh, here it is. Go there and email us with some more questions, and we will hopefully help you out. Hopefully the show helps you out. Again, you can see we could go on and on, talk more about it. We have so many other topics more that we want to talk about. We're hoping here on ATR that we'll be able to share it more. Don't forget to go to WRUU 107.5 every Saturday at what time?
From 9 to 10.
Yes, and you'll be able to enjoy that. Okay, Mr. Engineer, our show is over.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Kwanzaa, and
Happy New Year. Thank you very much. God bless.